let's just sew whatever. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are going to be making the Alina Crossbody bag from Bagstock Designs. This bag is so cute! I love it! As I said in the outro, which you haven't seen yet, is I absolutely love the size of this bag. I have not made anything this size in a long time, and if I did, I don't remember. But I don't really carry anything like this permanently on my website, so I'm definitely going to be purchasing the templates for this from Tops and Bobbins if they're available. I'm sure they are. But I think it's amazing. I am not a huge fan of the foam for this bag just because it's a smaller bag, and I think the foam adds a lot of puff and takes away from the size of the bag. So I think if I did this again, which I'm going to, I would be using Sew Fuse Plus, or maybe just 2 layers of woven interfacing for the exterior. I did use all water resistant canvas, so it is a nice thin fabric. But yeah, I love it so much. I love this back pocket. You can make this into a slip pocket, which we go over in this video. So yeah, such an awesome bag. Great for beginners, I think, especially if you have a little bit of confidence in yourself. You can do this. You got this. So yeah, I hope you enjoy the video. If you're not subscribed already, I would love it if you would. And yeah, let's get to sewing. To get started, I am using a magnetic snap for my flap pieces. So I want to start by installing that. The instructions are given just under all of the materials listed. And so you're going to install the outie part of your snap on the lining side of the flap, 1.125 up from the bottom edge. And then the female part of the snap on the exterior panel, about 2 inches from the top straight edge, centered. I'm going to do 2 inches here. Okay, so I've marked out the placement there, lining up the center of my washer. I'm marking that out. If you have the KAMSnaps magnetic snaps, you'll just press it in and go. I really should get one of those. I just keep forgetting, like late night when I'm like, I want to shop for sewing supplies, even though I don't need any. I always forget. Alrighty, so now those are ready to go. We can line up those pieces once again. I'm just going to use clips, hold those in place. The piece I used for my flap was not big enough. I'm not sure if you can see here. That's where my fabric ends and that's where my interfacing keeps going. So I cut my interfacing down to the exact size of the piece. And since it's going to be in my seam allowance and we'll trim it off, I'm not that worried about it. But I just wanted you to know that that happened. And then I will clip my exterior and my lining together. I did roughly cut out my lining because I'm going to be trimming down the excess anyway. So long as I follow the seam allowance along the exterior piece, I will be fine. So there's that clipped together. This is the lower part of that flap. And then the other thing that I had to change is my back pocket lining. I wanted to use my exterior fabric so it would be a little more hidden, but I didn't have enough of it. So I went ahead and just cut this 4-inch by 10-inch piece and then cut out a, I think this is 9.5 inches long. It doesn't really matter. It's just the back slip pocket, but I'm just gonna sew these together really quick. May as well start now. You can use like a 1/2 inch seam allowance so long as you've cut enough fabric so that your piece will be the same size it needs to be. So since we're joining these pieces together and I'm using a 1/2 inch seam allowance, I need to add 1 inch to the pattern piece, only 1, to make up for that. So if you were going to add it through the both of them, you would want to cut 1/2 inch more for both instead of 1 inch on one. So it's, I like to call it alchemy because you have to take away, put back what you take away. But anyway. So then I'm just gonna top stitch through that seam. And now this will be that lining piece. And when it's on the bag, it will be a little more hidden, but then this comes up like that to create your back slip pocket. I know that my bobbin is full at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and start with my crossbody strap and my strap connectors. Tape these together. Although I think for the connectors, they get sewn on, so I guess I don't have to sew these just yet. All the way at the bottom. Okay, yeah, these get sewn into that side seam, so cool. So I'm just top stitching along the folded edge. And then I'm going to cut this piece in half. And slide my D-rings through. I'll keep that clipped, and then I'll work on the crossbody strap. This is cut to 4 inches wide, and I went ahead and marked my center. I will tape down the center, and I am centering that double-sided tape over the center line so that there is like 1/4 of an inch of the tape along either side. If you don't trust yourself to do that correctly, you could also just use 2 pieces of double-sided tape along either side of that middle line. My tape just decided it didn't want to work correctly. Weird. I've literally never had that happen with the 1/2 inch wide double-sided tape anyway. And then just fold the long raw edges in toward that center line. I like to leave a very small gap for the vinyl to fold over onto itself without creating this really thick seam. So I am thinking about getting the large Wonder clips in the glitter finish, glitter and rainbow finish. I have never actually used those, so I'm just wondering if you use those, can you let me know down below? And then would you purchase them in a 50 pack or would you want it in like a 25 pack? Because I feel like those aren't used as much, but I don't know. I just saw Lauren at Seemingly Wicked used some, and I was like, huh, yeah, I guess people, yeah, I mean, I haven't used them, but I know people do. Anyway, top stitching along either side. Hello, Benjamin. Please hide your butt. Hide your butt. Go, go, go. I have a wide mouth slide adjuster to account for the thickness of this vinyl. So I'm just going to go around that center bar and top stitch over that piece. I like to do 2 parallel lines to really secure that into place, but you don't want to overlap your stitching too much, or you could just risk perforating the vinyl. There's that. And then I'm going to remove the tape. Well, not tape, but the film from my snap hooks. And you could always kind of save this to put back on the snap hooks before shipping out to a customer if you wanted. Just throwing out an idea. So add my snap hook to the free end, slide that through, and then back up and around that center bar. This vinyl is so rigid. And then the free end, again, slide your snap hook through that. And then I'm just going to do a box stitch. And anytime I'm worried about the foot hitting where any hardware is attached, I just use a little scrap piece of fabric to protect it. You want to make sure it's thick enough that the teeth won't go through. They do make smooth presser feet for this machine. I have one, I just never reach for it, so I don't know. But that is our crossbody strap finished. I always like to get my straps done first if I can, so that when I'm done with the bag, I can just put them on. Okay. Setting my D-ring connectors to the side, I'm going to start working on the flap and pocket bottom. Okay. So you're just going to sew in a U shape around your interfacing. For my interfacing, I used Sew Fuse Plus. If you're using a flip lock, you may want to use that fleece just for a little extra stability. I am trimming down along that curve. And then we're gonna flip this through. I did also add a little bit of So Fuse Plus on the back of my waterproof canvas to stabilize that snap. And just flip this out. Because I didn't use vinyl on this piece, I can use my iron, and I think I'm gonna. And I will press along that flap. Okay, and then we will top stitch all the way around it. And you don't have to trim off the excess, but I did. And then I'm going to fold this piece in half to mark out the center and make a little snip. And then we'll work on the bottom of our pocket. And I'm gonna do that little trick of walking into the lining, or walking into it, I should say. So I'm gonna start at the top of my seam and come down into my seam allowance. And I'm also going to walk out. Ow, oh my gosh. I just set my machine foot down on my finger. Okay. Then I'm gonna trim down at the corner and around that pocket piece. And then we will flip this through. I had a feeling this vinyl might not turn well. I think it'll look cool though, still, if it's a little crinkly. Probably should have left myself a little bit bigger of an opening. So I can just barely get my hand in there. Luckily, I have this turning tool that my friend Anne sent. I can just use to slowly poke out those corners. You don't want to force anything. You could risk just popping through your stitches, etc. So you just want to slowly work that in there. And I'm slowly pressing it around that seam. Okay. I'm going to steam this along the back side just to help loosen up the vinyl and the waterproof canvas, and to hopefully help press that side down. Okay. And that just made it a little more malleable. And So what I'm gonna do is use my clips to line everything up. And we're just going to top stitch along that top edge. I don't think this side is pushed up all the way. Yeah, no, definitely not. I was just too scared. To really add a lot of force to that side. There we go. That's looking better. There we go. Push out any air. Okay. And top stitch. And I'm going to try to remove some of these wrinkles from turning by heating up my ironing board with my iron using steam and then just laying this over top. Okay, so it looks maybe slightly better. I don't know, but it's going to get covered up by a flap. It'll be fine. Okay, we'll grab one of our panels. I'm going to mark out the centers. Go ahead and fold this in half just gently. And then this gets placed 1 inch from the top edge, centered. We will sew that into place. And then we can add our snap. And line up those center snips. And then we'll base that into place. And then I'm going to grab that top edge and sew that in place using a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Right sides together. And then you'll flip that up and top stitch through that exterior panel. Wowee. That looks so cool. And it's been super quick so far. I can't believe I waited so long to make this bag. One of the next steps is going to be to baste this to our foam. So just to get this out of the way and this piece completely done, I'm gonna go ahead and baste this to my foam really quick. I'm gonna switch my stitch length down to like a 6, just so this goes super quick. If you don't have foam, you could use SoFuse Plus or maybe some 809 on the lining to give this bag a lot of stand-up ability, etc., without adding a lot of weight. Because you want a bag this small to be really light. And then if you're gonna add a nameplate, you could add it now, especially through that foam. It's really going to help keep your exterior fabric from being affected from like the prongs or anything like that. So we're just gonna trim down the extra foam. And if you have a zigzag stitch machine or a serger, you could also make sure that you serge the edges first to really compress the foam so that your seam allowances don't get way too thick. I used to use my serger to do it just because it really compresses. But there is that front panel. All right, we are working on the exterior back panel. So I'm going to fold our pocket, our zipper pocket lining panel is what it's called, in half. And we're gonna measure out, that's not gonna work, an 8-inch line. So I'm gonna go 4 inches on either side of that. And we wanna do 7/8. Okay, so there's my 4 inches, and I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4 inches on the other side. Is that 7/8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. It wasn't quite. Okay. So there is that. I'm gonna fold this in half. This little snip. And right sides together. And make sure you switch your stitch length back down to like a 4 or maybe a 4.5, depending on what your fabric is. And then we will sew along those lines. And then you're gonna snip into those at an angle, making sure you don't cut through your stitching, but that you're right next to it. So it's like those memes about how close you are to losing your shit, like that's where you wanna go. And then I'm going to press it open on one side and then again on the other. This step isn't super necessary, but it will help it kind of lay a little bit flatter before we move it to the iron. And then you're just gonna iron this flat. So put the wrong sides together to open up your little area for your zipper. I don't even know what I was thinking. Okay. So you want to add that to the opposite end. It's not even going to matter because I'm adding a zipper. Oh, crap. No, it's worth it. It's worth it. So if you were not going to add a zipper and you wanted the print to be consistent, that's how you would do that. So dumb. So dumb. So I think when I add my zipper, I'm just going to cut this piece that I've wasted time adding off, but that's okay. That's how we learn, right? From mistakes. So I'm gonna grab one of my shorter zippers. And I'm using these super cute zipper pulls from Dulce hardware. Little bats and moons. So cute. But we're just gonna lay this in place. And you do wanna make sure that it extends into your seam allowances. And then make sure that your distance from the zipper teeth and the edge of your fabric is consistent all the way down. And I am zipping my zipper to make sure my teeth are properly aligned. And then I'm just going to finish that off. And now you can bring your lining that isn't going to be seen in any way, shape, or form up to the top. I'm gonna screw it. We'll just make this a longer pocket. I mean, it will be seen when you unzip the zipper, but yeah, I did not need to take that much effort. So I'm just going to clip it first, and then I'm going to sew along in a U shape to close up that pocket. And then I will change my bobbin because it just ran out. Not today, bobbin. Aha. What a good day. I say that now, but I've got 2 bags I'm trying to sew today. Oh. Just broke my needle. Okay, so I've got my top panel clipped on and we're going to sew that into place now. Stitch length is at a good place. And then you want to make sure that you move your zipper pull out of the way. But make sure that you can feel the teeth through the upper fabric so that we know we're catching all of the edges. And then if for some reason your stitching got a little off or the top panel isn't like completely straight, what you can do is kind of straighten it up as you're sewing. So you can fold it down a little bit closer to where it's nice and straight. And then I'm just gonna, hey, look at that. You can see a little peek of that fabric. That's super. Ah, so dumb. But that's okay because this gave the pocket a lot of like strength around that area. It feels really nice and thick. So whatever, it's a happy accident. It's fine. And now we can baste that foam into place. Increase my stitch size. Also, super funny, I haven't changed my needle in quite some time, so it's probably a good thing that it broke. Probably should have trimmed down my excess zipper. Oh well. And little scraps of foam you could always use to help strengthen like magnetic snap, etc. So like this corner cutout piece here, you could use on the back of snaps or nameplates, or you could also use little pieces of foam in applique, like vinyl appliques, if you want to create this like 3D illusion. So there is this piece with this zipper pocket. Now we can move on to the lining. Oh yeah, that's right, it doesn't work. Actually, before I move on to the lining, I'm just going to sew my exterior panels together, because this bag is not a drop-in lining, although it most definitely could be made as a drop-in. Well, I don't know, it might be kind of hard with the foam. Anyway, so we're just gonna sew around in a U shape, not sewing over the corner. We're just gonna go whoop, 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 and then square the bottom. Whoop, there it is. All right, 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Make sure your stitch length is back to a 4 or 4.5. Back stitch over that corner, and then instead of lifting up, I just jump over. this bag would look super cute with like a little bottom panel. But I do love so far how quick and easy this is. So definitely, I would say beginner to intermediate friendly bag. So I'm just pinching the corners together. And I think it's a little easier to square the bottom when you have that jump stitch, because it's keeping those edges together. And then I like to butterfly open that side seam. So I'm clipping that open. And I'm just gonna sew along that corner. And then just double check that everything's looking good. And then we'll add our strap connector into that top seam. All right, and now our exterior is ready to just be set aside. This lining is super simple. We're just adding a zippered pocket. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab one of my 5 billion rulers. I think this is an 8-inch zippered pocket, and technically I could use my zipper pocket ruler to do that, but I'm just gonna do a 7-inch zippered pocket. Although, trying to think, we could just trace out the 7 and then use that 1/2-inch line on either side. Yeah, we'll do that. Why not? Okay. Could I have used a regular ruler? Absolutely. Oh well. All right, so we'll fold this in half. I am going to snip the center at the top and bottom. Definitely the top, because we're adding that zipper panel as well as our top lining panel. I'm gonna lay this into place. How far from the top? 1 3/4. That seems, this is 1 inch, so we want a 3/4 inch along the top there. and I will press that open with my iron. Grab my zipper. There it is. Ooh, this one is just barely long enough. So I'm not going to be able to use my normal trick of keeping my zipper pull out of the way, but not a big deal. Zipper stitch length is at 4.5, which I think is still pretty good. Zipper pocket. Okay, and then we will mark the center at the top of the other lining panel. You could add a slip pocket or another zippered pocket if you wanted to. I'm going to set our top lining panels and the bottom lining panels aside for now and grab all of our zipper panel pieces. And Bagstock has a specific way that she shows to do zipper panels, which is a really cool way. But I just am so used to doing it this way, so I'm going to continue doing so. I'm going to add double-sided tape to one side. And then the other, and then just fold all those over. And then I'm gonna grab my 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape. If you guys saw one of my mail opening videos where I had a lot of 1/8 inch wide double-sided tape from all different places, I finally used up one from 2 Minutes to Stitch, and now I'm on this one from geekyheartware.com. So just in case you're wondering where this one's from, now you know. My heat press doesn't have even pressure along the, I want to say blade, but that's not it. I want to say oven. That's not it. Along the top, the heat press. So sometimes my interfacing doesn't fully stick in all spots. That's kind of what happened here. So I'm just using these clips to hold it in place. for now. I'm gonna see if there are 2 pieces that I want for my top panel, and these are exactly the same, so it's not gonna matter. I guess, yeah, okay, I'll go that way. So if you're using a print that is directional and you're a little scatterbrained, looking at you, Lauren. Me, Lauren, not anybody who's watching that's named Lauren. I don't know you well enough to attack you in such a manner. I like to add double-sided tape where my zipper is going to go and hopefully remember where I've decided it goes, because that happens too. I'm going to use that little lighter trick to hold my zipper ends in place. So I'm going to fold it down and melt it until it starts to get a little waxy. And then if you are brave enough to use your fingers, you can use your fingers to kind of push it together, but I'm just using clips. You can also sew it down into place, but with an industrial machine, it gets weird looking and wavy. It's not always the best looking. So you want to make sure that you trim down the edges to line up. And keep that clipped until you're ready for it. I'm gonna add one side of my zipper. That is the wrong one. And then add another piece of double-sided tape to this side to hold the other side of your zipper panel. Was I not filming any of that? Anyway, we're gonna work on the other side now. I don't know how much was missed, but just repeating those steps. We're doing great today. Okay. And for the other side, I did not need to use my iron, so I'm going to try to do that on this side. I'm just pressing it. I can't remember if it was filming when I mentioned I'm using water-resistant canvas and a woven interfacing for my zipper panel and the exterior of my bag, actually. And there is our zipper panel. We'll fold this in half to mark out our centers. If you don't want to snip your center, you could always just use a sewing marking pencil situation. But I think these precision snips from Olfa are great for marking out the centers. They're so sharp. Okay, and then we will grab one of our lining panels. I'm just gonna take this one with my zipper so that my zippers are going in the same direction. Across the bag, clipping all of that into place. And then I'll grab one of my lining pieces. Well, the top lining piece, laying that over all of that. I'm trying to think if this needs a perky zipper panel. Okay, no, this gets a depressed zipper panel. I don't know. Make sure your zipper pull is out of the way. And so we're only top stitching through the exterior top panel fabric, which will make our zipper panel point down naturally. But like on the Felicity tote and a few others, if you top stitch underneath the zipper panel, it kind of perks it up. Little lift. Trying to think if I want to add a little woven. I want to add some kind of nameplate here. I have these super fun ones from the Heartwood and Hide that say like cut and sewn by hand. So I think I'm gonna add, not that one. I'm gonna add this like gray, murky colored one. I'm gonna fold that in half and add a little piece of double-sided tape to the back, just so it doesn't shift on me while I'm sewing it. And then lay that into place. So that takes 20 to 30 seconds to add, and it's just so cool. I don't know, I love them. I can't get enough. All right. We'll add our other lining piece. Sure, the point, you want to make sure that your print is facing down while you're sewing right sides together, so that when you flip it up, it's facing the right direction. I am kind of using a little bit wider than 3/8 of an inch seam allowance for this part, because then my lining will already be a little bit shorter than my exterior without having to increase my seam allowance when sewing along the bottom edge, etc. Maybe that'll pay off. I don't know, I doubt it. But here is the top of the bag. I'm gonna unzip it about halfway and clip the tail of my zipper to my zipper pull so that it stays out of the way while I'm sewing the lining together. Because of the vinyl I'm using, I'm going to leave the bottom of this bag open Oh crap. I didn't leave my zipper pocket open. So I'm gonna have to leave the lining open, otherwise I can't turn this bag. My bad. Not a big deal. So I have to leave a smaller amount open because I can't sew the bottom up otherwise. Crap. Why didn't you tell me? Alright, so I'm just going to sew about 1.25 inches into the bottom corner. And then I'm gonna square that bottom. Man, I can't believe I did that. I think it's because I've been adding like 2 zippered pockets to bags lately. So one stays open, one doesn't, and I just totally blanked. Trying to think, I probably could have opened it really quick, but whatever. Right, closing up the bottom corners. And then we will flip this right sides out. Press out those bottom corners nicely. Unzip our zipper just a little bit more, but make sure you keep your end clipped. I always like to leave my zipper end nice and long, and then I'll cut it down later. This just makes top stitching the bag and birthing it, etc. a lot easier. For me, anyway. And then we'll put our lining into the exterior, right sides together. Make sure your zipper pull is out of the way. Line up those side seams. Now that I'm thinking about it, the longer clips would be really nice for when you're clipping the exteriors together, like especially right here to like hold that open. So I gotta do it. Can't stop thinking about it now. Clipping around the top edge. You want to make sure there are no large, obvious puckers of fabric. That means one of your pieces is slightly larger than the other, so you might need to adjust your seam allowance a little bit more. Okay. So that's all clipped together. A few more clips. Sometimes I like to leave a section unclipped so that I know that's where I'm going to start. So I'll go ahead and change the camera angle so you can see a little better. All right. Here's my unclipped section. As I'm readjusting, I will leave my needle down into the fabric so that nothing shifts. Make sure all of your hardware is out of the way. Okay, and then we're ready to turn the bag the right side out. Pull that lining out first. Grab the bottom of the bag. Push out bottom corners. And then I am pulling at this top seam just to make sure I've caught all of my exterior and lining fabrics. Looks good. And then normally I would pull the lining out through the pocket, but instead I'm going to close the lining. Not a big deal. It's what we did before we knew about turning through the zippered pockets, so I think it's fine. Okay, and then I will sew along that seam. Okay, I just had to document the second not today bobbin. Whoa! Ben, we're doing great. All right, so we're going to put the lining back into the exterior and roll this seam down. Ooh, that is a thick vinyl. I don't know if I'll carry this one. It's not bad, but it's not great. It wouldn't be great in all applications of bag making, so it's hard for me to carry stuff that I know isn't going to work well for everything because people don't always read. People being me as well. I don't always read. In fact, I very rarely read. I used to read a lot. All right, and I don't want to leave these clips on there for too long or it will mark up the vinyl. My gosh, what a cute bag. I don't know that I'm a fan of it with foam. I think maybe if I'd used quilting cotton, I would like the foam, but it just feels so poofy for being so small. Maybe when it's all done, I might like it. I mean, I still like it, but I feel like the foam is maybe just a little bit too much puff. But it is so cute. All right, let's top stitch. Time to top stitch. We got a brand new bobbin. I'll go ahead and pull my threads up so that they don't knot on me. Now, I could top stitch. I might do that. I don't know. So I have no doubt that the presser foot of my machine will mar this vinyl, especially over these seams. So I worry about top stitching from the lining side because then I have no control over that. So we'll do this. Switch my top stitch length to a 5. And I'm gonna go nice and slow over this area, pressing down as I go. And then on the back side, I can use a piece of fabric. Nope, that's not really working. I was gonna say to like create this hump jump. Yeah, there we go. And then as I'm coming down from that, I'm gonna add this little scrap on the back of my foot so that it doesn't mark up my vinyl on the way down. Whoa. And trim off your excess threads. Ooh, baby. So cute. Okay, and then we're gonna add our zipper end to that panel. I'm gonna trim off my excess. So there's about 2.5 inches hanging out from the outside edge of the bag. You can save this for a little zipper pocket if you want. I don't really think it's big enough for that. And then I've got my zipper end hardware. And you can add glue or fray check to your zipper if you want. But I have found these zipper ends are very strong. They stay on very well. Well, yeah, they do, but I think I'm gonna fray proof my zipper end here with a lighter, just because I can see that starting to fray over time. And we don't want that. So you want to make sure that you're pushing that end cap on as far as you can. And with these XL zipper ends that I designed, it's really easy to get your zipper in there. Okay, and then I always like to yank on the end to make sure it's not going to come off. Then you can tuck that inside your bag. And we'll clip on our strap, and this baby is done. Oh, so cute. All right, and here is our bag all finished. We've got that great front flap, this nice slip pocket here, this zippered pocket along the back, which you could make into just a slip pocket, but I love this technique. It's got a top zippered panel and that interior zippered pocket. I love the size of this bag. It is honestly a size I don't really have on my website or carry, so I think I will be buying the templates for this bag. I could see myself making a lot of them. And even if you like used this panel on the front and the back and didn't do this, that could be a super fast sew. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, make sure you're subscribed, and I will see you next time. Bye.